Welcome back for another episode of Civility Wins, the Family Law Edition. I am your host, Kristen Goss, founder and owner of KWG, Family Legal and Mediation Services. We are your knowledgeable, warm, and gracious attorneys. I am so excited to have with us today another very special guest, my friend, my colleague, Erika Wasserman. She is a financial therapist, and thank you so much for being here today. Before we get into the discussion, just want to remind everyone to please share, like, subscribe to this YouTube channel. We are going to have a phenomenal discussion with Erika Wasserman today. So thank you, Erika, for being here with me.
Oh my God. First of all, I love knowledgeable and warm. Like I wrote those words down because as soon as you said that, and I'm like, that exudes you. And, when you and I met, it was so interesting to learn what we both do. Because at the end of the day, it's about helping people take the higher road during difficult situations.
Mhm.
And for you, collaborative divorce was like mind blowing. But you need somebody that's knowledgeable and warm, right? Because it's a process where there's so many insecurities and so many uncertainties that are happening. So to have somebody that's knowledgeable and warm, you nailed it. I love that intro.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I want you to share with the audience about yourself personally and your journey to becoming who you are today. I think it's phenomenal. So I want the audience to know.
All right, hop on my roller coaster ride, right? We all have a good roller coaster ride. They're all going to have different dips and twists, and some that make you throw your hands up and scream with excitement, and others, not so much. So, I'm Erika Wasserman, your financial therapist. Yes, a financial therapist. But my road wasn't straight. Never met anybody with a straight road. I grew up liking math. I grew up in a household where my dad and I talked about math often, like walking around the grocery store, like how much is that going to cost? And here, it just was a very common conversation. And then as I got older, we started trading stocks together at like a 12 or 13. And I ended up getting a finance degree from University of Florida and going into consulting, which I loved. I worked for IBM, which I lived up to the acronym. I've been moved. I moved 9 times in the 12 years. Along the way, picked up a boyfriend in New York City, and that became a husband. Added 3 kids to the mix. So I have 3 daughters and got divorced. Oh, I also lived in Asia, right? So I lived in Japan and China. My first daughter was born in Japan. Roller coaster, right? Throw your hands up and also your stomach drop, sometimes at the same time. Then we hop back over to the US, pregnant with the second, have a third, and I end up getting divorced. 3 kids under the age of 4. That roller coaster, right? I mean, we'll talk more about this, but the rug was ripped out from under me. And there are nights that I actually am a specific morning, and I was just writing it in my book that I'm writing, the specific morning of laying on the floor and just meditating and trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life. And part of my meditation practice was 3 things. Who am I? What do I want? And what's my purpose? And I say this and I remember it vividly because my girls were so little and they were crawling over me. Mommy, what are you doing? And they couldn't understand why mom's laying on the floor.
Yeah.
Now that I'm now once they're an adult, they'll realize why mommy was laying on the floor trying to gather her courage for the day. And my dharma took a little bit longer to figure out, but it was to take the higher road when life becomes challenging. And so years later, the girls and I get divorced. Their father and I get divorced amicably, 3 months with a mediator. I wish I knew about collaborative law back in the day. But the way we did it was really a collaborative approach. And that was over a decade ago, by the way. I have 3 teenage daughters. I live basically in a sorority house. I keep waiting for the adult to show up. And my dad, so moved back to Florida. My dad passes away in 2017, which was my financial accountability partner through life, and also my mom's. And so all of a sudden now I was stepping in as a role of helping her build confidence in her relationship with money. So in 2019, when I heard the term for the first time, financial therapist, the aha moment happened. That dharma, that laying on the floor a decade earlier, connected. And that was it for me. So I went to Kansas State, got a graduate certificate. There's 5 colleges right now that have programs in financial therapy. It's a growing field. Then I joined the Financial Therapy Association. Never heard of it either. Don't worry, you're not alone. And I'm one of 100 certified financial therapists in the country. And in fact, I was number 15 to be certified.
So,
So it is my true passion to help people, because that little roller coaster we just went on. We talked about moving, we talked about merging money, I've talked about adding family members, separating money, a death of a loved one. So for me as a financial therapist, it also has given me a lot of empathy and understanding. Back to that knowledgeable and warm is what I'd like to do in my practice.
I love it. I love it. I want us to be side by side. I think that's better. Yes. So, this financial therapy that you share with us today, tell us or tell the audience what it is that a financial therapist does. Because when I heard that, I was just like, I was so intrigued because I'm like, wow, okay. One of my colleagues, he is a forensic accountant. He mentioned, oh, that's just when a therapist and a forensic accountant get together, get married, and there you go, financial therapy. But what is a financial therapist? What is
I
it?
love that. A little forensic therapist running around. So a financial therapist is the emotional side of money.
Mhm.
I'm going to pause here for a second. 90%, by the way, it was a Harvard study. I didn't need a Harvard study. Look at my Target cart. 90% of our financial decisions are emotional. 10% are logical. So now we're emotional, primarily emotional with our relationship with money on our decision making. So what happens when we're not in tuned with what our triggers are, what our trauma is, what our strengths are? And now we're forced into a major life change. And so what happens is I find people when they come to me, they're trying to figure out their next steps in life. But emotionally, they're triggered by a lot of things and they don't understand how to change and shift because we're not allowed to talk about money. We grow up in a society that doesn't matter your culture. I do clients all over the world. I work with people all over the world. Culture, it's you don't talk about money. It's done in private. But how do you get better at something? When you look at the wellness wheel, nutrition, exercise, career, spirituality, relationships, environment, all of these things we talk to people about, we learn from, we are educated in school, we can go to a coach. But when it comes to money, we're not supposed to talk about it. So people don't have a relationship with money in a positive way because they haven't seen it done in a positive way. So that's where I come in. So I work with people on their past, their present, their future of what they want to do in life with their relationship with money. I want to change you from saying no to no, right? Knowledge to yes, I'm in the driver's seat of this ride. And that's what we do. So I work with clients 3 sessions, 6 sessions. My goal is not to keep you forever. My goal is to help you through that transition, to understand your emotional triggers. So that way you get to the logical part faster and more confidently.
And I know that you've been very instrumental with my clients. I referred a couple over to you. I know one at least connected with you. And so when I am working with clients in the divorce space, especially with collaborative divorce, and for those of you who don't know about collaborative divorce, it is an actual thing. It's not mediation. It's not attorneys sitting around the table singing kumbaya and everybody is, just chill. It is a really, really hard process, but a really, really necessary and valuable process for those who are going through a divorce or any type of transition on the family law side, paternity actions, modifications, what have you. And it's basically each spouse or each parent coming to the table with their attorneys, and their attorneys are open to being resolution focused. We're not going to be fueling the fire. Everyone's going to enter into a participation agreement. It outlines the do's and don'ts. We're going to be open and honest and transparent. We're going to be respectful with one another. There is a disqualification clause that says in the event the process breaks down for whatever reason, they do have to fire their attorneys. Each spouse has their own individual attorney. They would have to fire their attorneys and take whatever unresolved issues to court. But statistics have stated that over 80% has ended in full resolution. And I equate that to accountability. when you
Interesting.
are,
The two words that I just wrote down, really big: communication and
uh-huh,
understanding,
mm,
right? Because you're sitting in a room together and communicating and sharing your whys.
mm,
Why is that important to you? Right? Instead of saying, I want that, you can't have that, right? The negative, you're
yeah,
pulling the layer back to say, this is important to me because, and
mm-hmm,
then you're understanding. So in the long run, it helps more because you understand the values of the co-parent that you're working with,
mm,
which also translates into the financials.
yeah,
Is why is it important for your kid to have back to school clothing? I just worked with a client on that earlier this year. They had two different budgets. They had two different spending theories.
mm,
They didn't understand each other's logic on how to do it. I just want the best for my kid. That's great, but you and I still need to communicate on this without yelling at each other, without,
mm,
putting the kid in the middle. And
mm,
that comes down to communication and understanding. So the collaborative is such a key part in this new relationship that you're about to have with this new co-parent, I'm going to say, right? Because that's generally how you're
yeah,
tied forever.
yeah,
Um, and so the earlier you learn how to communicate and understand each other post divorce, the
mm,
better it's going to be for the whole family unit. And again, I speak personally on this
mm,
uh, as well.
mm-hmm. Yeah. I thank you for that because I didn't even realize it, you kind of go through the process and like as an attorney, I'm thinking of legal, 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 but that's why we have other people such as yourselves to really pull out those pieces. And you hit the nail on the head. It is really about communication and understanding because you can have both of them say, for example, I use the orange scenario. I
Yep, I
want
love
that
that.
orange, right?
Uh,
Wants the outer layer to make something else with it, and the other wants the inside to have orange juice. And so they both on the outside say, I want the orange. And it's like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Because what can we do? We can't split the orange in half. And like, but getting down to the communication and understanding why, I really like how you pulled that out because that is all about what collaborative is about, more holistic, and bringing other professionals such as yourself to help the families. And so my question to you would be, having someone with your expertise, a financial therapist, how would you work with a couple who's going through divorce in a collaborative setting? What would that look like?
yeah, first, every couple's unique.
Mm,
So it's going to be depend how they present. So oftentimes when I see people in this stage, one had more control over finances, understanding of finances than the other person.
mm,
So it's a lot of building confidence up and understanding. We're back to understanding because really, again, 90% is emotional, 10% is logical. So if we're able to get to that logical part quicker, it's going to be better. So, when you're talking about divorce, what's important to you? What are your values? But also, let's look at your past. So a lot of the work that I do will go through this thing called a money egg exercise. And it reviews your past and some of the trends that have shown up for you. And what roles have you played in your family? Have you been the enabler? Have you been the banker? Have you been, right? Have you been the black sheep? And oh, by the way, is that the role you want to keep now?
mm,
So if it is, how do we work this in for you two to work together in this next chapter? And if it's not, what role do you want to be? Do you want to move from the enabler to the protector? Okay, what steps do you need to get there? And again, from the financial standpoint, what will make you feel protected or to protect your family? And that's what we get into is, again, it's not about the dollars and cents. It's about the emotional feelings of, I want my kids to go to college or be college paid for because of this experience that happened to me or didn't happen to me. But if
mhm.
we're not sharing storytelling to the other person, they don't understand your why and they just think you're pounding them down to get an answer. And I'm going to give a personal example.
Uh-huh.
When I was married, second baby on the way, I looked at the husband and I said, we need life insurance.
Mm,
Easy conversation. Probably a lot of families have it. A month later, hey, did you make the life insurance appointment? Nah, haven't gotten to it. 2 months later, what's going on with the life insurance, right? So as you see, now I'm the nagging wife.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 months in, nothing's happened on the life insurance. Babies come, and now I'm like, because my background was that I had life insurance as a family, as a kid. We talked about life insurance, again, open environment. This was something just to protect our family.
Mm.
He was hearing, I want you dead.
Mm.
And so one day he literally said to me, stop wanting me dead. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, for me, I couldn't understand. He's like, every time you keep asking me to get life insurance, it means I'm going to die.
Mm.
Same piece of paper.
Wow.
Our views on it were completely different. And once we sat down and were able to talk, like, no, this is like, God forbid you get hit by a bus. Like, the girls and I, I don't have to work 3 jobs, right? And it's just a sense of security for us. It's, I want you to live forever, right? Conversation. And once that switched, we were able to make the appointment together. And so that's just one example of how understanding the person that you are going to co-parent with the rest of your, or at least solid 18 years, that sometimes you have to stop the noise and start having some real conversations.
What do they say? What's that saying? It's not about being right. Am I saying this correctly? It's not about being right. It's about being understood.
Ooh, I've heard many variations of that, but yes.
Yeah, because I think sometimes, especially I could speak for myself, I'm like, but I'm right.
Right. I hear you. I don't know. I hear you. I don't understand you also, right?
Yeah.
You hear the words somebody's saying.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, and that's the hard work, right? That's the hard work, is understanding somebody else's language, even though we might be speaking the same language, we're not.
That is very true.
And so that's what people kept coming to me saying, I don't even know how to start the conversation. So, like, good ideas besides like in the shower or driving. I was at a bar one night and there was a couple that had conversation cards because they'd been married for 10 years and she didn't want to just stare at him. And so that's where the idea was born for Let's Talk Finances conversation cards.
Yes, that was going to be my next question. You are amazing. And this is going to be your second deck of cards that you've created, right? So
yeah, it's a series. So we're 2 decks in now.
Okay. Share with the audience what this is about.
Yeah, because people don't know how to start the conversations around money.
Yes.
Either don't know the questions to ask, don't feel comfortable asking them. So I do the hard work. So it is a deck of cards available on Amazon called Let's Talk Finances. The first one is the couples edition. So if you are still married or working as a couple, this helps for good understanding of one another. This goes to storytelling. I just ran into somebody at an event last night. She's like, we took it on vacation. I didn't think my husband would be into it, but we learned a few things, and some I already knew his answers, right? So some you might know, and some you might learn something new, which is always fun when you're asking questions. And so 50 questions and prompts. But then what I ended up doing is doing the divorce edition, because I know personally for me, I had to redefine my whole relationship on my own. I no longer had somebody to bounce ideas off of or compromise on or set goals with. And so the divorce edition is something you can do on your own, is to develop what you want to do. Where do you want to be? What scares you? One of the questions is, what are your top 3 financial bills that worry you the most? Because once you acknowledge them, then you can put a plan in place. Who's going to be your new financial advisor? What characteristics are you looking for? Like, right, these are things that as we're going to our post-divorce life, we get to develop all on our own again. So the divorce edition is really to help you start that new chapter.
I love it. I love it. So please look it up. It's on Amazon. Erika Wasserman, Let's Talk Finances.
Let's Talk Finances. Yep.
Yes. So be on the lookout. It's great. I have the cards myself. So I have the divorce cards. I'm going to get the other cards now and have conversation with my husband, because that is necessary.
Yes, I can't wait to see how that goes. Tell me what your favorite question is.
Huh?
Tell me what your favorite question is when you do it with him.
I will. Yeah. You are also an author. I want to kind of switch gears here a little bit. You are working on a book. I will defer to you to share as much as you'd like about that with the audience. So, yeah, I'm curious. What are you working on with your book?
So next year, September 2025,
Mhm.
Conversations with Your Financial Therapist will be out, and it's stories and scripts to help grow your mindset. So I gave you an example here of the co-parenting, which was the shared back to school expenses. So that is a chapter in there, and it's how does that conversation look like? And I use the money mindset method, which I created, and we use the word money for 5 steps that can be repeatable in any stage of your life. So if you're talking with your parents, aging parents, hello, we got those conversations to have with yourself. If it's buying a dog, if it's, expanding your family or working with a co-parent, that you can do to get in touch with your emotions, stay on focus in the conversations. I find that a lot with clients is they throw the whole kitchen sink in, right? Once you start talking money, it's like, well, you lent your brother $3,000 and we never saw that back. And you got to stay focused, write it on a sticky, come up with a code word, really big into code words, helps in other areas also. Go for a walk, come back 10 minutes later. So the book helps you through all of those steps and also gives you real life examples because most of us haven't seen a productive financial conversation.
Mm.
And so that's the goal of this book is to create opportunities for people to have productive conversations at home. Same with the cards.
I love that. And it really reaches a wide variety of people. And that's what I love. It helps a lot of families. I can see that for sure. And I know that you're passionate about that. So thank you for sharing and thank you for doing what you do. I think it's very helpful and will help and continue to help a lot of families. Mhm.
Yeah. And back to the divorce. So when I got divorced, I was living in Connecticut, New York City area, right?
Mhm.
And I remember going to Union Square, walking into Barnes and Noble, massive Barnes and Noble. And again, I was clueless. I was young. None of my friends had been divorced yet. And I remember going to the book session. I love books, right? I remember going to like the book area and everything had like punch them where it hurts, get what you deserve. And it was such a negative connotation.
Mhm.
And like I said, like he and I worked it out amicably. Like I knew the finances in our family. We had some really good conversations, and there was nothing out there at the time. Again, this is 12 years ago. There was nothing out there at the time that was the collaborative piece. That was how do you have a productive conversation as two human beings that just want to move on to the next life,
Mhm.
not just for themselves, but to help their kids as well. So that's why I'm also part of writing the book, including those chapters, and such a fan of collaborative law because being negative and bringing people down doesn't help anybody. It doesn't.
Mhm. No, I agree. How were you able to do that? It seems like you were so fast, compared to the times. Like how it takes a lot because it's
Oh,
not.
it takes a lot. Oh, believe me. I mean, look, I had my days. I had my days. I caught
So
the Kermit the Frog where you're like texting back and forth, especially when the kids were little and they couldn't use their own cell phones to call them. And, I've
yeah.
had my moments. But with that being said,
Mhm.
I read a quote really early on, and it said, drinking poison,
Mhm.
you drinking poison is not going to kill the other person.
Mhm.
And I'm going to say that again. Drinking poison is not going to kill the other person. So I could be bitter, I could be ugly, I could be really pissed off. Again, there's a few days in the beginning and all that.
Mhm.
But the reality was the other partner is going to go live their best life. And they're going to do everything without you now. So you living in that negative space only impacts you. It only hurts you. It drags you down. It shifts your mindset. It shifts your friendships, right? Because people aren't going to be around negative and upset people. And so when you start shifting your mindset to say, I'm going to go build this next chapter to not only be better for me, but for be better for the people around me.
Mhm.
And that's it. We're good, And again, we all have days like any day, right? I can be upbeat and then tomorrow have a bad day. It happens with divorce. Lots of emotions, but also knowing your triggers.
Mhm. Wow. You have to be very self-aware for that, I think, right? Knowing your triggers. It's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress. And or grab your friends when they
Yeah.
know your triggers, right? To be like, why don't we take this conversation outside? Like, let's go for a walk. Like, I can't tell you how many times, like even today, I'll just take myself for a walk around the block. Like, I just need to change the energy in my body, clear my brain, or throw music on. That actually was a tip from my therapist when I was going through the divorce, is like the emotions start building up, is like just stand up and shake it all out. Like, just shift the neuro stuff that goes on your brain, you know, and throw music on.
Hmm.
Or create a song in your head, because get up and move.
Mhm.
Sitting in that negative energy isn't helping anybody, and definitely is not helping you.
You gave me an idea because, okay, so I have three girls as well, and the
Yep.
baby's three, and she's in that stage right now where she's like, sometimes she wants to be a baby, and it's like, we have a baby in the house, like we want to talk about. I don't understand that. And then she'll throw like a tantrum, like when she's not getting her way. Ooh. But I realize when I say, okay, you can continue to cry, but you're going to go upstairs and you're going to go in your crib and we can, take a break and you'll rest, or do you want to stay down here? Immediately she stops crying. And I equate that kind of in an adult state where you can allow your emotions to get the best of you, but it's your choice, right? You can decide. You have control over your emotions, even though a lot of times I think people see it as the opposite. I can't control this. I can't, but you do. You can, we're human, of course. You're going to have those days where you cry. You're going to have to yell, whatever, be angry. But at the end of the day, we do have a choice to make. And
Yes.
I
And
think,
get those emotions out. And it's interesting, you said the crib, like you could go to the specific spot. So this is a tip I'll leave you with. Have
yeah.
a work spot,
Mhm.
not in your office, not in your bedroom. So you need to be productive at work, and you need your sleep to be sacred, right? Find a spot. And I don't care, like during COVID, I would sit by the garage door. You know what I mean? Like the door that nobody goes by, and I just need to sit there for 5 minutes, or I need it's almost like literally like putting myself in timeout, or that chair in the living room that nobody goes to.
Mm.
When you're worrying or when you're frustrated or uncertainty, go to that spot. Then you physically know that that's your time to worry. Grab a notebook, grab some pens or color, put a podcast in or whatever you need to do, but choose a spot to do it in.
Mhm.
And then when you're done, you get up and you can go back to your day.
That's a good thing. I need that. Thank you for that. I'm gonna implement that in my life.
We're going to find you in the crib.
Yes. Yes. Sucking on my thumb.
Yeah. Mommy needs a timeout.
Oh my gosh. Not that you have enough to do and enough on your plate being a single mom of three teenage girls, but tell us about some projects, some upcoming projects you have.
Yes, I'm super excited. You say that. Didn't we just talk about two projects? I just launched the card, I'm writing a book. I'm hosting an event at Neiman Marcus in Town Center. So anybody who's local in South Florida, November 18th, it's a Monday. It's called Divorce Unscripted. It's going to have 4 panelists, all experts in the divorce field, a lovely lunch at Neiman Marcus, and an opportunity to network with professionals if you're looking to move into this space, or if you are a professional in this space. Great opportunity to network and understand more. We're going to have an estate and planning divorce coach, a divorce attorney, and myself talking about the financial relationship with money, specifically during a divorce. So lots of great topics. And you're at the mall already, so a nice day to get out and socialize for all your endorphins.
Yes, 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 yes. Thank you so much. And one last question I have for you, Erika, is those out there in the audience, they've heard valuable information about financial therapy, about a lot of tips and tricks and things that you have coming down the pipeline. Where can they find you specifically if they want to know more about you?
Yeah, my website has everything. So the website's yourfinancialtherapist.com. That's yourfinancialtherapist.com. Also on Instagram, Your Financial Therapist, on LinkedIn as well, or Erika Wasserman on LinkedIn. Glad to connect with you.
Awesome. And we'll make sure to have her include your information when we post this as well.
Great.
But thank you so much for joining me, Erika. I appreciate you and your time and your friendship and just being able to work with you. And I look forward to working with you in the future.
Me too. This is a fun talk, and I'm glad your listeners get to eavesdrop on some of our conversations when we get together. So I appreciate being on and happy to be of service to you or any of your clients anytime. So good luck and try and stay calm in all the craziness, because then you'll be able to make more rational decisions, especially for the long term. So that's it. Take care.
Sound words. So thank you again to the audience for tuning in for another episode of Civility Wins, the Family Law Edition. I am Kristen Goss, founder and owner of KWG Family Legal and Mediation Services. We are your knowledgeable, warm, and gracious attorneys. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we will see you next time.